It is important that we train and we understand, and I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out.
Virtue signaler in chief, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. That was an outrageous statement, in my opinion. White rage. He wants to know about white rage, and it was white rage that caused January 6th. Let's bring in some experts. One of them was actually in the room when this all went down. Representative Guy Reschenthaler, Republican of Pennsylvania, former Navy JAG officer. Welcome back, sir. And Congressman Michael Waltz, Republican of Florida, colonel in the National Guard, former Green Beret. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for being here. Just first, Congressman Waltz, your reaction to some of what we saw yesterday.
Well, what I presented to the Secretary of Defense was the fact that West Point, the United States Military Academy, is teaching critical race theory as part of its curriculum. Critical race theory and introduction is actually in the book selection and one of the courses. And the fact that over 100 cadets attended a seminar titled Dealing with Your Whiteness and White Rage, taught by Dr. Carol Anderson, who called the Republican Party platform a platform of white supremacy, and the former commander-in-chief a white supremacist. So that's what I laid out before the Secretary and the Chairman. And in fact, the Secretary of Defense agreed with me that that is completely inappropriate. Look, I can't think of anything more divisive than dividing our military. I've served in for years where I was taught that you bleed Army green, your skin color is camouflage.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what, the enemy's bullets could care less about anything except for the fact that you're American. This has got to stop, and we're going to put a stop to it.
Well, good luck, Congressman Waltz. And I noticed the Secretary Austin would be like, "Oh no, we don't teach critical race theory. We just say that white supremacy has pervaded the ranks and we must be rid of the systemic racism that's been in place for so long." So he's espousing it without espousing it. I found it to be typically bureaucratic. Congressman Reschenthaler, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, so my thoughts are very simple. We cannot have a military force that is taught to hate the country for which they're defending. And I want to be clear about something. The Chinese are not teaching books on John Locke and Adam Smith. The Russians certainly aren't doing that. The Chinese are teaching the PLA officers about how China is going to be the next global superpower. The Russians are teaching their military how they're going to dominate Europe, for example. We need to teach our officers how America is the greatest country on earth and how we need to exert our influence globally and meet the rising threat that is China and Russia. Also, I can say this. When I was in the Navy, our logo was Navy, a fighting force, a global force for good. I don't even think with today's military you could have that slogan because this top brass would find it offensive somehow to say that the Navy in the United States is a global force for good.
Yeah, you know, we're all in the military, and that was one of the great things about it. And I think we have some pictures from men and women who served that I used earlier in the show. It was great. We didn't really talk about race. We didn't think about race. We just were Marines or soldiers or airmen or sailors, and you met people from all walks of life, and you came together. And it seems like the atmosphere is the opposite of that right now, Congressman Waltz.
Yeah, and where I just completely and fundamentally disagree with General Milley is he's conflating teaching history, and he even said so in his remarks there, teaching fascism and learning about communism. But the difference is this critical race theory isn't about learning about what happened in the Civil War. There is a difference in teaching and indoctrination. And what these lecturers and what these courses are teaching the future military leaders, as Congressman Reschenthaler said, was that the Constitution, our civilian institutions, are fundamentally racist, misogynist, colonialist, and evil, and need to be opposed.
Hey.
That's one thing if some kid in California thinks that. It's another thing for the future chairman of the Joint Chiefs that can be sitting in that class and sitting in that seminar.
Sure.
And that's unacceptable.
Or the current chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And here's my theory about him. He's a political animal. Quite frankly, you have to be to ascend to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, but I haven't seen it played like this. He walked across the street with President Trump last summer. He was horrified by it. He apologized profusely. It was totally unnecessary. He's walking with the commander-in-chief, of course, mind you. And then he apologizes for that. I saw him basically flirting with Kamala Harris at the inauguration. He strikes me as a swamp creature, quite frankly, out for himself. He's saying this stuff because I think it's a way for him to stay in power. And I believe he's up for reappointment fairly soon. And he wants to march to their drum. I know I put a lot out there. I know you got to work with him closer than I do, Congressman Reschenthaler, but your thoughts, please.
Yeah, look, I will work with him, but I'm also not going to be afraid to confront him if he ever comes before one of my committees. Because at the end of the day, we cannot teach that the United States, we cannot teach members of the United States military critical race theory, because just like Congressman Waltz was saying, this critical race theory is teaching that all our institutions are inherently racist. They're inherently bad. That theory teaches that we need to tear down these institutions. That's not something you want to teach the future leaders of our military. I think that it's good that there's pushback from members of Congress like myself and Congressman Waltz. It's good that we're holding these individuals accountable and showing them that they cannot indoctrinate our service members into what is really Marxist theory.
Well, lately the ads for military recruitment have been woke, have been all about gender and orientation. I'd like to show you an ad from the Russian military. This is how they recruit, and I believe the messaging is slightly different.
Познать границы своих возможностей. К черту границы. Ты готов ломать себя до изнеможения. Каждый день здесь боль закаляет. Шрамы, повседневность. Это ты решил себе что-то доказать. Это ты пытаешься увидеть в каждой тени своего врага, потому что без врага нет боя.
Yeah, this looks like the military that I recognize. Unfortunately, it's the Russian military. Oh, boy. All right. Well, we've got our work to do. We're counting on you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for being there and for fighting. Congressman Guy Reschenthaler, Republican of Pennsylvania, and Congressman Michael Waltz, Republican of Florida. Thank you both.
Thanks, Greg.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
We'll be back.